Some country songs were hits. Others became memories.
I was so cold to me.
But there is one song on this list that was recorded by a man whose own life was falling apart. And somehow, his broken voice turned a simple love story into one of the saddest recordings ever made. And the final twist? The song eventually became inseparable from the tragedy of the man who sang it. Welcome to Saddle Sounds, where we uncover the voices, heartbreaks, forgotten struggles, and stories behind the music that generations never stopped loving. Number 10. Don Williams, I Believe in You, 1980. There was nothing flashy about Don Williams. No screaming guitar. No theatrical performance. No need to prove anything. He simply opened his mouth and made people believe him. I Believe in You arrived in 1980, and almost immediately, it felt different from the increasingly polished country music surrounding it. It's true. Written by Roger Cook and Sam Hogan, the song became Don Williams' 11th #1 country hit, spending 2 weeks at the top. It also became his only top 40 pop hit, reaching number 24. But here is what most people don't know. The man singing about faith and devotion had already spent years building a career that moved at its own pace. Williams had been around music for years before becoming one of country music's most dependable stars. He wasn't interested in chasing every trend. He had something rarer: patience. His voice sounded like a man who had seen enough of life to stop pretending that everything had to be loud. And that made I Believe in You powerful. The song wasn't promising a perfect world. It was saying that even when everything else becomes uncertain, there can still be one person you choose to believe in. That message crossed borders. The song became a major hit in Canada, Australia, and New Zealand. And Williams' calm delivery became part of the song's identity. He didn't sing at you. He sang to you. Almost like an old friend sitting across the table. That is why the song still feels timeless. But the next artist took a completely different route. His song would cross country, pop and R&B in a way that nobody could have predicted. Number 9. Kenny Rogers, Lady, 1980.
You have made me what I am.
Before Lady, Kenny Rogers was already a star. But this song changed everything.
There's so...
Lady was written and produced by Lionel Richie and recorded by Rogers in 1980.
You have gone.
It became Rogers' first #1 single and eventually spent 6 weeks at the top of the Billboard Hot 100. It also topped the country and adult contemporary charts. But the strangest part of the story happened before the record was even finished. Rogers specifically wanted to work with Lionel Richie, because he admired the way Ray Charles had brought country sounds into R&B. Rogers wanted to reverse the experiment. He wanted to take an R&B song and sing it like a country singer. Ritchie initially had only one word, lady. That was enough. The rest became history. But think about how unusual that collaboration was. A country superstar, a black R&B songwriter, a song built somewhere between Nashville, soul, and adult contemporary radio. In 1980, that combination could have gone horribly wrong. Instead, it became enormous. Lady became one of the defining crossover records of the early decade and the first 1980s record to chart across Billboard's country, pop, adult contemporary, and soul charts. And there is something almost poetic about the partnership. Rogers had found his voice. Ritchie had found another way to make his songwriting reach millions.
For so many years I thought I'd never.
Neither man needed to sound like the other. They simply met in the middle. That is what great music does. It ignores the walls people build around genres. And once that door opened, another country singer was about to walk through it, with a song that had already broken her heart once. Number 8. Dolly Parton, I Will Always Love You, 1982.
It's called I Will Always Love You.
Most people know the Whitney Houston version. But before Whitney turned this song into a global phenomenon, Dolly Parton had already lived it. Dolly wrote, I Will Always Love You,
I'll think of you each step.
in 1973, when she was preparing to leave Porter Wagoner's television show and professional partnership. Her original version became a #1 country hit in 1974. Then,
Bittersweet.
in 1982, Dolly recorded it again for the Best Little Whorehouse in Texas.
Please.
And once again, it went to #1 on the country chart. But the emotional story is deeper than the chart numbers.
That I'm not what you need.
Dolly had come to Nashville with a dream. She wanted to be her own star. Instead, she became part of Porter Wagoner's world. It was a tremendous opportunity. It also became a difficult relationship to leave.
Treat you kind.
When Dolly finally decided she had to go, she knew she was risking something. Wagoner had helped introduce her to millions of viewers.
Wish you lots of happiness. Oh,
Walking away meant leaving security behind, but staying
you love.
meant delaying the career she believed she was born to build. So she wrote a song that wasn't really about hatred. It was about leaving somebody you still loved. That's what made it so devastating. There was no revenge, no bitterness, just goodbye. And when Dolly sang it again in 1982,
Thank you so much. We'll be right back.
the emotion had changed because she was no longer the young woman trying to escape one chapter.
I wrote this is a song that I had out a few months back.
She was now an established superstar looking back at it. Then came the twist nobody could have predicted. 10 years later, Whitney Houston recorded Dolly's song for The Bodyguard. It became one of the biggest singles in music history. Dolly's Quiet Country Goodbye had become a global anthem. But even Whitney's version could not erase where the song came from. It came from a woman standing at a professional crossroads, knowing that sometimes loving somebody means having the courage to walk away.
Bittersweet.
And that brings us to a song that sounds romantic, until you realize the people singing it were not just performers.
Goodbye.
They were telling a story about two people trying to survive together.
Treat you kind.
Number 7. Eddie Rabbitt and Crystal Gale, You and I, 1982.
Just you and I.
Some duets sound like two singers sharing a microphone. You and I sounded like two people sharing a life. Eddie Rabbitt and Crystal Gale released the song in 1982, and it became a major crossover success, reaching number 1 on the country chart and number 7 on the Billboard Hot 100. But here's the hidden part. The song was written by Frank J. Myers. At the time, Myers was still building the songwriting career that would eventually make his name familiar in Nashville. The singers, however, were already stars. Rabbitt had mastered the difficult art of crossing between country and pop. Gale had one of the most recognizable voices in country music. Together, they created something almost weightless.
Gale.
There is no desperation in the performance. No dramatic pleading. Just two people choosing each other. And that simplicity made it powerful.
Just you and I.
The song became one of the biggest crossover records of 1983,
Each other.
eventually ranking among the year's major pop hits. But history gave the song another emotional layer. Eddie Rabbitt died of lung cancer in 1998. Crystal Gale continued performing. That is the strange power of old records. They freeze people in time. And sometimes the person you hear is younger than the person you remember. But the next story is darker. Because this woman wasn't fighting to keep a relationship. She was fighting to prove that rejection didn't have the final word. Number 6. Roseanne Cash, I Don't Know Why You Don't Want Me, 1985.
It's the right time to know.
Roseanne Cash knew what rejection felt like. In 1983, she lost the Grammy for Best Country Vocal Performance.
I'm in the right mood. I got my
Female to Juice Newton. For many artists,
But somebody told you that I was so.
that would have simply been another awards night disappointment. Cash turned it into a song.
Don't want me in between.
I Don't Know Why You Don't Want Me was written by Cash and Rodney Crowell and released in 1985.
We'll find a new name.
It became a number 1 country hit and earned Cash her first Grammy Award in 1986.
Go on tonight.
That is already a good story. But there is something much more human underneath it.
Me. Just when I think.
Rejection can get inside an artist's head. You start asking questions nobody else can answer. Was I good enough?
How much I need you.
Did they understand what I was trying to do? Was somebody else simply better? Cash transformed that insecurity into something clever and almost playful. That is why the song is deceptive. It sounds light, but underneath it is somebody asking why they weren't chosen. And then comes the beautiful irony. The woman who had lost the Grammy turned the experience into a song that helped win her one. That's not revenge. That's something better. Transformation. She took the sting and turned it into art. And that is one of the secrets of great country music. The sadness doesn't always appear on the surface. Sometimes it hides behind a smile. But if you listen closely, you can hear the wound. If you're still with us, you already understand what Saddle Sounds is about. These aren't just old records to us. They're pieces of people's lives, and sometimes the most important stories are the ones that never made the headlines. Subscribe if you want more of these forgotten stories brought back to life. Because from here, the stories get even heavier. Number 5. Conway Twitty, The Rose, 1983. Before Conway Twitty touched The Rose, it was already associated with Bette Midler. But Conway did something unexpected. He made it country. The Rose reached number 1 on the country chart for Conway Twitty in 1983. And the hidden story is in the recording booth. Twitty struggled with the song. It was not originally written for him. It wasn't even born inside country music. Yet producer Jimmy Bowen understood something important. Twitty didn't need to copy the original. He needed to own it. So Conway tried something unusual. He spoke the opening lines instead of immediately singing them. That small decision changed the entire recording. Suddenly, the song sounded less like a polished pop ballad and more like an older man giving somebody the truth about love. And Conway's voice had changed with age. It wasn't the same voice that had conquered country radio years earlier. It was deeper, rougher, more experienced. And that was exactly what the song needed. The industry often tells older artists to sound younger. Conway did the man who sang it didn't need to pretend he was young. He simply sounded like somebody who had learned what love costs. That is why his version still stands apart. But the next song came from an artist whose career had already reached extraordinary heights. And the song itself sounded like the happiest kind of goodbye. That love is only... Number 4. Ronnie Milsap, I Wouldn't Have Missed It for the World, 1981. But I'm glad for... Ronnie Milsap had already achieved something most artists could only dream about. And love was the best hits. By the time I Wouldn't Have Missed It for the World arrived, he was deep into one of the most successful crossover periods in country music. Wouldn't have missed loving. Released in 1981, the song became his 19th number 1 country hit. and also reached number 20 on the Billboard Hot 100. But the song is fascinating
Even though I lost
because it doesn't sound like heartbreak at first. It sounds like gratitude. The narrator looks back on a relationship that ended and says, essentially, that even though it hurt, he wouldn't erase the experience.
you've got your dreams to follow.
That's a mature kind of sadness. Not every broken relationship is something you wish had never happened.
Do it all again.
Sometimes the pain was worth the memories. Milsap understood that emotional space better than most.
Wouldn't have missed loving.
His career had always lived between worlds. Country, pop, R&B.
I wouldn't trade.
He had the rare ability to make each one sound natural. And I wouldn't have missed it for the world.
I lost you, girl.
Arrived at exactly the right moment. The early 1980s were changing country music. The urban cowboy era was pulling country toward the mainstream. Milsap didn't fight the change. He used it.
Wouldn't trade one memory.
And that final realization that sometimes you can lose somebody and still be grateful that they were ever yours. That's a difficult truth. And Milsap made it sound beautiful. But the next song is where country music became almost brutally intimate.
My whole life worthwhile. With
Number 3, Reba McEntire. Whoever's in New England, 1986.
An awful lot of time and mess.
Imagine discovering that the person you love may be loving somebody else in another city. You don't know the other woman's name.
Business must be booming or could
You don't know what happens behind closed doors. But you know enough. Whoever's in New England was released in 1986
important for our future.
and became Reba McEntire's first #1 single on the Billboard country chart. It also became the title track of her first #1 country album.
You've got the thought.
But the bigger story was Reba herself. For years, her record label had wanted to steer her toward country pop.
And Boston finds better.
Reba wanted something harder, something more traditional, something that sounded like country.
When whoever's in
She fought for that direction, and it worked. The shift helped establish her as a major star.
I hear the winter time up north can
Then came Whoever's in New England. It wasn't just a hit, it was a breakthrough.
time of year. And they say the snow can blind you.
The song won Reba her first Grammy. The album became her first platinum record,
Your bags and left me in the hall.
and 1986 became the year she was named CMA Entertainer of the Year and joined the Grand Ole Opry. But listen to the song itself.
You remember that it's me.
There is no screaming, no confrontation. The woman knows. That's what makes it painful.
Great through with you.
She knows her relationship is changing. She knows somebody else may have taken her place. And she is left with question.
When
Whoever she is, wherever she is, she has become part of the narrator's nightmare. Reba didn't sing it like a victim. She sang it like somebody trying to hold herself together. And that was the beginning of a superstar career.
business must be booming or could something.
But we haven't reached the deepest wound yet.
And Boston finds better things.
Number 2, Willie Nelson, Always on My Mind, 1982. Some apologies arrive too late. Always on My Mind is one of them.
And maybe I didn't treat you.
Willie Nelson recorded his version in 1982, and it became one of the biggest recordings of his career.
If I made you feel second best.
But here's what makes the song so painful. There is no villain, no dramatic betrayal.
My mind.
Just a man admitting that he should have done better. The song had already been recorded by other artists before Willie,
I didn't hold you.
but his version gave it a completely different emotional weight. Willie sounded tired, not physically, emotionally.
I never told you.
Like a man looking backward through years of mistakes. The words are simple. The feeling isn't. You can hear somebody realizing that love is not just about what you feel. It is about what you do while the person is still there.
On my mind.
That's the tragedy. Because once someone is gone, regret becomes useless.
Tell me that you're sweet.
Willie's voice makes the song sound almost like a private confession, and that was part of his genius. He never needed to oversell emotion. He could let one slightly broken phrase do more than an entire orchestra. The recording became a defining moment of his career. But there was another level of sadness waiting decades later. As Willie aged, the song remained. The voice changed. The man changed. But the regret inside the recording stayed exactly where it was. Frozen. That is what great music does.
You were always on my mind.
It doesn't age with us. It waits for us. And sometimes we return to a song at 20
You were always on.
and hear one thing. Then we return at 40, and suddenly the same song hurts differently. But if Willie Nelson's song is about regret,
Maybe I didn't.
number one is about something even more final: death. And the man singing it was living through his own private disaster when he recorded it.
Quite as good as I should have.
Number one, George Jones, He Stopped Loving Her Today, 1980.
He said, I'll love you till I die.
There are sad songs, and then there is He Stopped Loving Her Today. George Jones recorded it in 1979, and it was released in 1980. At the time, Jones was in serious trouble.
He kept her pictures.
His career was struggling. His personal life was chaotic. His battles with addiction had damaged his finances,
Oh, but he still loved her.
relationships, and professional stability. And then he was handed a song about a man who could only stop loving the woman who left him by dying.
Love letters by his bed.
Jones wasn't immediately convinced. The song had been written by Bobby Braddock and Curly Putman. It had taken time to develop, and the concept was almost unbelievably dark. A man spends years loving a woman who left him.
See my friend today.
People assume he has finally moved on. Then he dies,
He was all
and suddenly she returns. But she has come too late.
go away.
That was the twist. She finally came back, but there was nobody left to receive her.
He stopped loving
And George Jones understood the emotional territory. He had lived through years of self-destruction, years of broken relationship,
Soon they'll carry him.
years when people wondered whether he would ever recover. So when he sang that song, he wasn't simply playing a character.
You know, she came back,
He sounded like a man who understood what regret could do to somebody.
back for her.
Producer Billy Sherrill knew he had something special.
Running through my mind.
The recording was restrained.
Silver quail.
Then Jones's voice entered, and suddenly the song became almost unbearable. He didn't sound polished. He sounded wounded. That was the secret. The cracks in his voice weren't imperfections.
He stopped
They were the evidence. The record became Jones's first solo country #1 in 6 years and helped revive a career that had been in serious decline. But its greatest achievement wasn't the chart.
I watched the years pass by.
It was what happened afterward.
She still
The song became so closely connected with George Jones
he kept her pictures. Oh,
that when he died in 2013, the song returned to the country charts and was performed in tribute to him.
but he still
Think about that.
loved her.
A song about a dead man became part of the farewell to the man who sang it.
Back again.
That is almost too perfect and almost too painful,
Did it?
because George Jones didn't just sing about a man who could only stop loving after death.
Every single
He eventually became the voice people remembered when they thought about the song. The character, the singer, the story.
but I didn't.
They became one.
He was all
And perhaps that's why this record has survived for more than 4 decades. Because it doesn't promise that everything will be okay. It doesn't tell us that love always wins.
till I
It tells us something harder. Sometimes people wait too long. Sometimes apologies come too late.
I watched the years pass slowly by.
Sometimes the person we thought would always be there is suddenly gone. And sometimes the only proof that love survived,
Pictures on his wall.
3-minute recording left behind. That is what these songs gave us. Not just melodies, memories.
But he still loved her through it all.
Dolly Parton's Goodbye. Kenny Rogers' unlikely meeting with Lionel Richie. Eddie Rabbitt and Crystal Gale finding a perfect musical partnership. Roseanne Cash turning rejection into a Grammy.
62.
Reba McEntire fighting for the country sound she believed in.
Every
Willie Nelson singing regret like a confession.
single I love.
And George Jones turning personal pain into one of the most devastating performances country music has ever produced.
But I
45 years later,
see no tears.
the technology has changed.
He was all
The radio has changed. The music industry has
first time I'd seen him smile in years.